Here's something nobody tells you about aging well. It has almost nothing to do with your face cream, your hair color, or how many wrinkles you have. Researchers who study happiness in people between 65 and 80 keep finding the same pattern over and over. The women who feel genuinely content, the ones who light up a room and seem years younger than their birth certificate says, they all still have 5 specific things in their life. And most women lose at least one of these without ever noticing it slipping away. Stick with me because number 3 surprises almost everyone, and by the end you'll know exactly what to protect starting today. Hello my lovely friend and welcome back if you're a regular here. And a warm welcome if this is your first time joining me. I'm so glad you found this little corner of the internet where we talk about looking and feeling wonderful at every age, without spending a fortune or chasing some impossible idea of youth. If that sounds like your kind of place, go ahead and hit subscribe now because I've got so much more style wisdom coming your way. Today we're talking about something a little different from our usual hair and wardrobe chats. We're talking about the 5 things that happiest women in their late 60s, 70s, and even 80s have in common. Some of these will surprise you. Thing 1. A signature look they never apologize for. Let's start here because it ties everything else together. The happiest women in this age group have a look that belongs to them. Not a trend they borrowed from a magazine. Not something their daughter picked out for them, but a genuine signature. Maybe it's a bold red lip. Maybe it's chunky statement earrings. Maybe it's always wearing a great blazer, even to run errands. Here's why this matters so much. When you have a signature, you stop asking permission to be seen. So many women quietly fade their style choices as they get older. They start reaching for beige when they used to reach for coral. They start hiding behind loose, shapeless clothing because somewhere along the way they absorbed the message that older women should take up less space, visually and otherwise. Nobody says this out loud, but it happens slowly, one cautious clothing choice at a time. The fix is simpler than you think. Pick one thing that feels like pure you and commit to it. It could be a lipstick shade, a particular scarf you tie the same way every time, or even a pair of glasses with real personality. You don't need 5 new habits. You need one thing that says, without a single word, this is who I am. A real example that always makes me smile. I know a woman named Carol, 72 years old, who has worn the same shade of coral nail polish for over a decade. People notice it. People comment on it. It has become part of her identity, and it costs her about $9 every few weeks. That's the whole secret. It doesn't need to be expensive to be powerful. I think it's worth mentioning that a signature doesn't have to be loud to count. For some women it's a quiet detail like always wearing a certain perfume, or always tying a silk scarf the exact same way around the neck. The point isn't volume. The point is consistency. When something shows up again and again, it stops being an accessory and starts being part of how people recognize you. That recognition is quietly powerful, because it tells your brain again and again that you are someone worth noticing. For confidence, remember this. A signature style isn't about looking younger. It's about looking unmistakably like yourself. And if budget is a concern, drugstore versions of bold lipsticks, affordable statement jewelry from places like Amazon or even estate sales work beautifully. This is not about spending more. It's about choosing on purpose. Thing 2. A reason to get dressed that isn't for anyone else. This one catches people off guard. The happiest older women get dressed for themselves on ordinary days, not just for special occasions or when they're expecting company. Why does this matter so much for happiness? Because when you only dress up for other people's benefit, you're essentially telling yourself that your own presence in your own home doesn't warrant effort. Over time, that quietly chips away at self-worth. Many women don't even realize they've stopped doing this. It happens gradually after retirement, or after a spouse passes, or once the daily commute disappears. There's no longer an external reason to put on real clothes, so the yoga pants and old t-shirts take over by default. The fix is wonderfully simple. Pick one small ritual just for yourself. Put on real earrings on a Tuesday afternoon with nobody watching. Wear a nice cardigan while you drink your morning coffee. It sounds small, but this single habit changes your posture, your mood, and honestly, the way you carry yourself through the entire day. Styling tip here. Keep a few effortless, put-together outfits ready to go, so getting dressed nicely takes 0 extra energy. Think one good pair of trousers, a soft sweater, and simple flats you can slip into in under 2 minutes. I think of my friend's mother, Diane, who is 78 and still puts on lipstick every single morning, even if she's spending the whole day gardening. She told me once that it's not for anyone else. It's because she likes seeing herself that way in the mirror. That's the whole point. There's also a quiet psychological shift that happens here. When you dress with intention for yourself, you start moving through your own home differently. You sit up a little straighter. You catch your reflection in a window and feel a small flicker of pride instead of looking away. That flicker adds up over weeks and months into something much bigger, which is a genuine, steady sense of self-respect. Confidence-wise, this teaches your brain that you matter enough to dress for, even on a random Wednesday. And financially, this costs nothing extra. It's the exact same clothes you already own, just chosen with a little more intention. Thing 2.5. Quick note before we continue. Before we move to the next one, I want to mention something. The next thing on this list is the one that surprises almost every woman I've talked to about this topic because it has nothing to do with appearance at all, at least not directly. But stay with me because it changes everything about how youthful you actually look. Thing 3. A small circle of people who see them regularly. Here it is, the surprising one. Happiness researchers who study aging populations consistently find that women who maintain even a small circle of regular social contact look and feel measurably younger than isolated peers, regardless of their skincare routine or wardrobe. Why does this matter for how you look, not just how you feel? Because loneliness physically shows up on the face and in posture. It affects sleep, it affects stress hormones, and stress hormones affect skin, hair, and even how you hold your shoulders when you walk into a room. Many women lose this circle unintentionally. Friends move away, a spouse passes, driving becomes harder, and suddenly weeks go by without real face-to-face connection. Nobody plans for this to happen. Just quietly does. The fix doesn't require a huge social calendar. It requires consistency. A standing coffee date every Thursday. A weekly phone call with a sister. A small book club, even if it's just 3 people. The goal is regular, not massive. Here's a styling tip that ties in beautifully. Having somewhere to be, even something small like a weekly lunch, naturally keeps you getting dressed, moving, and engaging with your appearance in a positive way. It gives your signature style, the one we talked about earlier, an actual audience to enjoy it. A lovely real example is a woman named Ruth, 75, who started a simple front porch coffee hour with 2 neighbors every Saturday morning. Nothing fancy, just coffee and conversation. She says it's become the highlight of her week. And honestly, people say she looks years younger than she did 5 years ago. If driving or getting out of the house is difficult, this still works. Phone calls, video chats, even a regular letter-writing exchange with a longtime friend all count. What matters is that it happens on a schedule, rather than only when it happens to occur. A relationship you see once a year feels like an event. A relationship you see every week feels like a lifeline, and lifelines are exactly what keep women feeling grounded, warm, and yes, visibly happier. For confidence, understand this. Reaching out first is not a burden on others. Most people, especially other women your age, are quietly hoping someone else makes the first move. Be that person. And this costs absolutely nothing. A phone call is free. A shared pot of coffee costs pennies. Now, the next one on our list is something almost every woman used to have effortlessly when she was younger, and somewhere along the way life got busy and it slipped through the cracks. You're going to want to hear this one because bringing it back changes your whole energy. Before we keep going, if you've learned something useful so far, tell me in the comments which of these things you already have strong in your life, or which one you think you might have let go of without realizing it. And if you're enjoying these timeless style conversations, please take a second to like this video. It genuinely helps this channel reach more women just like you. Thing 4. Movement they actually enjoy. The happiest women between 65 and 80 aren't necessarily doing intense workouts, but they are moving their bodies in ways that feel good, not punishing. Dancing in the kitchen, gardening, walking with a friend, gentle yoga, swimming. The activity itself matters less than the enjoyment behind it. This matters because movement you actually love changes your posture, your energy, and your circulation, and all 3 of those things affect how youthful you look. Far more than any cream ever could. Many women unknowingly drift away from this because exercise gets mentally filed under obligation rather than pleasure, and obligations are the first thing we drop when life gets busy or joints get itchier. The fix is to stop thinking about exercise and start thinking about play. Ask yourself what kind of movement you loved as a younger woman, and see if there's a gentler version of it now. Loved dancing? Put on music in your living room for 10 minutes. Loved swimming? Look into a local senior swim hour. Styling tip: invest in one comfortable, flattering outfit specifically for movement. It sounds small, but women who own a walking outfit that actually makes them feel put together walk far more consistently than those in old, baggy sweats they secretly dislike wearing. A wonderful real example is a woman named Pat, 69, who took up mall walking with two friends purely because she disliked the treadmill. 3 years later, it's still her favorite part of the week, and her doctor has commented on how much her strength and balance have improved. What I love about Pat's story is how ordinary it is. There was no dramatic transformation, no expensive equipment, no rigid plan. Just a decision to choose the version of movement that actually felt enjoyable, and then simply showing up for it week after week. That consistency is what changes a body over time, far more than any single intense workout ever could. Confidence-wise, remember that movement is not about punishing your body for aging. It's about thanking it for still carrying you through your life. And this doesn't need to cost anything. Walking outside is free. Community centers often offer very low-cost senior classes as well. We've covered 4 things so far, but the 5th one is the quiet thread that actually holds all the others together. Without this last one, everything else eventually fades. So let's talk about the most important thing on this entire list. Thing 5. A sense of purpose bigger than their daily routine. This is the thread that ties everything together. The happiest older women almost always have something they're working toward or contributing to, something beyond simply getting through the day. It could be volunteering, mentoring a grandchild, tending a garden that feeds neighbors, or even a small creative project like writing or painting. Why does purpose matter so much for happiness and appearance both? Because purpose gives your days shape and your face expression. Women with purpose tend to have brighter eyes, more animated conversation, and better posture, simply because they have something they're genuinely engaged with. Many women lose their sense of purpose unintentionally after retirement or after their children grow, and no longer need daily care. The structure that used to organize their days quietly disappears, and nothing replaces it. The fix is to find one small, meaningful commitment. It doesn't need to be grand. Reading to grandchildren once a week, volunteering 2 hours at a local library, tending a small garden plot. The scale doesn't matter. The regularity and meaning do. Styling tip: choose a purpose that gets you out of the house and around other people when possible, since this naturally layers in that social connection we talked about earlier too. A beautiful real example is Margaret, 80 years old, who volunteers weekly at a local animal shelter walking dogs. She says those 2 hours give her entire week a sense of direction, and honestly, she has more energy than women 20 years younger. What strikes me most about Margaret is that she never describes it as a chore. She talks about the dogs by name. She looks forward to Tuesdays the way some people look forward to a vacation. That's the real marker of purpose, when a small commitment becomes something you genuinely miss on the weeks you can't make it. For confidence, understand that purpose doesn't require a title or a paycheck. It requires showing up for something you care about. And financially, most volunteer opportunities and community projects cost nothing but your time. So there you have it, my friend. The happiest women between 65 and 80 aren't chasing youth. They're holding on to a signature style, a reason to dress for themselves, a small circle of real connection, movement they enjoy, and a purpose that matters to them. None of this requires a big budget or a complete life overhaul. It requires small, intentional choices made consistently. I want you to remember something important. Style has never really been about age. It has always been about confidence, and confidence comes from feeling like yourself fully and unapologetically. You have everything you need to feel that way right now, today, exactly as you are. If this video gave you something to think about, please subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and go ahead and check out my other video where I share the wardrobe pieces every woman over 60 should have in her closet. It pairs beautifully with everything we talked about today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You are timeless, and I'll see you in the next video.